Hey guys, what is up, and I welcome each and every one of you to a new League of Legends video. So it's time to take a look at the best champions as of right now for patch 8.4 because there have been quite a bit of changes, new meta, new dragon and baron buffs, and so on. Also very quickly, I'm doing a big giveaway with a lot of other YouTubers. The link is down below for a bunch of RP, and this video will be made in collaboration as per usual with Pro Guides. It's a great website that helps you improve your overall League of Legends gameplay and knowledge. The link for them is down below for the free trial. But let us not waste any more time and get right into it. So starting things off for us is actually going to be Mr. Sion over in the top lane. This guy has been easily the king of top lane for even the past couple of patches prior to this one. Not only is he just insanely tanky, but especially now with bone plating with the new rune, I mean, he is just so strong in lane because he not only has a lot of base damage, but going Meteor with Scorch makes your E ability, which has a lot of damage built in, do a lot more than you would expect in the laning phase for the extra poke damage. I mean, your initiation is fantastic. You are, again, very hard to kill in the late game. Your passive is actually quite useful if you use it correctly. This guy really just has a lot of what you need and want from a frontline champion. On top of that, of course, with the laning phase being quite strong, this guy is easily one of the best top laners at the very moment, and also not the hardest one to play either. So with that being said and done, let's take a quick look at the build whenever playing Sion. Like I said, Meteor is going to be your keystone of choice. Bone plating and second wind in the resolve tree for your secondary one will make you very tanky as well. But next, let us talk about Volibear. Now, Volibear can be played either in the top lane or in the jungle to where he'll have success in both roles. He got a mini rework this patch, and I have to say it happened to be quite a big buff because essentially his E ability got completely new damage added to it, to where now if the target is dashing or in the air, they take extra damage, and luckily for us, Volibear has an ability that flips them over to the air. Here's Q ability. So walk in, auto attack Q them into the air, use the E ability for the extra damage, pop your ultimate, and just start whacking away with the W execute, and you are going to be very surprised at how strong this really can be. His ganking power is also quite good. His jungle clear is really not that bad at all as well, since his Q ability does work with his E on the jungle monsters as well. And all in all, Volibear just seems to be a very strong pick at the very moment, all thanks to these buffs. But let's take a quick look at the build that you want to run whenever you're playing Volibear. So for runes, Aftershock usually will be your keystone of choice, though Predator is not a bad option as well. Your build is going to consist mainly of tanky items and also items that offer you movement speed. So for instance, Righteous Glory is a good option as well. But speaking of jungle champions that are strong and also like to move very quickly, Skarner is still definitely up on that list. For this guy, I mean, it's very similar to Volibear. I mean, he has a pretty decent clear actually because of his Q ability, but the main thing that's really good here is the fact that not only does he have a lot of CC outside of his ultimates, but his ultimate for solo Q especially is so damn effective because one, people love to get caught out in solo Q, and Skarner is the best at catching them off guard. And number two, well, a lot of people are going to be simply way too greedy to go ahead and build a Q assess, which of course does counter Skarner quite hard, but since people won't usually be getting it, you should be good to go. So let us take a quick look at the builds whenever you're playing this champion. Unsealed Spellbook is not a bad option, but if you really want to spice it up, Predator is also very good, and you will, I promise you, catch people off guard all the time. You also want to opt in for items that give you movement speed as well, so maybe Dead Man's Plate or even a Righteous Glory for him is not bad as well. Things that will just help you move as fast as possible, and also if you ever see the Cloud Dragon, you may want to go ahead and prioritize that because my goodness is that very good on Skarner. But let us move over to the mid lane because there are definitely some champions to talk about here. Also, some other ones I'll talk about later in the honorable mentions. So starting things off for us, I actually want to talk about Fizz. Now, Fizz might seem a little bit of a random pick, but he's actually quite strong at the very moment. Fizz is notorious for just dealing with long-ranged mages, right? Especially ones that don't have any escape. Maybe someone like Victor, Xerath, maybe even someone like Lux. Because what does he do? Well, I mean, he just essentially plays fairly passive into the laning phase, but once he gets his ultimate, if he actually lands it on the target, he's probably going to go ahead and kill them with absolute ease. So not only is the current mid lane meta favoring him in terms of matchups for the majority of the time, not every single time, but also AP items did get buffed. Now, he doesn't really build a lot of the new items, but he can definitely go in for Morel Nomicons if he wants to. He'll still most likely get Rabadons, which essentially just got overall buffed as well. And Fizz just having a lot of damage, being able to kill his opponents very easily just because of the meta, definitely puts him in a pretty good spot. But speaking of mid lane champions that are very strong that are also abusing the new items, we have Mr. Rise, and my goodness is this guy very strong. So in my opinion, Rise has always been a very strong champion, especially in the higher elos, because that's where people really understand how to play this champion, since he really isn't the easiest champion in League of Legends. But once you understand the champion, he's strong. Now, since the new AP items came out, the biggest one that came out that kind of got everyone's attention is going to be the Archangel Staff. It stacks so quickly now, and it offers you so much AP for the amount of mana you also get plus the shield that it really is a very strong item. So champions that can abuse this item tend to be quite good, and Rise, luckily for him, definitely abuses the hell out of this item. So you just go ahead and go Archangel Staff, maybe a Robo if you want, and you will be not only very tanky, but you'll be dealing so much damage that you'll be almost next to impossible to deal with. So if you're a mid laner and you're looking for a new champion to main, or you're trying to find out who the next OP champion is, Rise is probably your best bet at the very moment. So with that being said and done, let's take a quick look at the build whenever playing this champion. Unsealed Spellbook is going to be usually your keystone of choice, and then you want to spec into the sorcery tree with Manifold Band and Celerity because Rise benefits off of movement speed by quite a bit. For items, you of course want to go for the Archangel Staff, Rod of Ages if you can and are able to kind of wait that extra time. You can always go for the new AP item right there you see, on top of also a Rabadon's and a Void Staff. Zarya's Hourglass is also not a bad option. But finally, let's move all the way down to the bot lane, where the first champions we'll talk about are going to be the ADC ones, and the first one from there is going to be Xayah. Now, ADC champions have always been moving up and down, and there seems to be always like top 3 or top 4 ADC champions that are just by far the best, and one of those for sure is going to be Xayah because, well, not only does she do a lot of damage and have a pretty safe and relatively strong laning phase, but she has a fantastic ultimate, she scales insanely well, she's very good into a lot of the matchups, and especially if you're facing a Fizz, since her ultimate essentially just straight up counters Fizz ultimate. And I mean, other ADCs also got nerfed, so for instance Tristana did get a little bit of a nerf as well, which in turn of course indirectly kind of buffs Xayah as well. That plus also the supports that she currently plays with, which is going to be quite a bit of CC supports on top of also maybe someone like Lulu, means that Xayah is going to be able to really dish out her damage in the way she wants to and get the time to set up those feathers for just that disgusting late game E. All in all, Xayah is just a very consistent, strong ADC champion that is just good throughout the whole game, so she's definitely a recommended pick in my opinion. So the build for Xayah is going to be as follows. You want to go for Fleet Footwork because it does help you get past that laning phase, since that's probably her weakest part if she has a weak part. Overheal and Alacrity are without question probably your best bets right there, and of course the Coup de Grace is going to be fantastic as well. Now for the secondary, a little bit weird, but most people go Sorcery for the Celerity, since you're of course, you're not a mobile ADC, you want that extra movement speed to reposition yourself properly, and of course Gathering Storm as well, because this will pretty much ensure that you will scale late game very well. But another ADC that I personally think is insanely strong, and actually in my honest opinion might be the best ADC at the very moment, is going to be Varus. Now my god, does this guy just do so much damage, because what you do with him is you go on attack speed on hit kind of build, so Gwynsu's maybe a Wit's End, maybe a Blade of the Rune King, Runan's Hurricane and things like that, and you just honestly can pretty much AFK, let him auto attack for himself, and you will probably just wipe the entire team. But if you actually decide to put your hands on the keyboard on the mouse, you can actually not only use his abilities that have a lot of range and poke, but his ultimate offers CC, and that is just so damn good to have in an ADC kit, because many other ADCs really provide next to no CC. And all you really need to do is get your first 2 items, being the Gwynsu's and the Wit's End, and just that alone you'll already be doing an obscene amount of damage, especially if your passive is procced, and especially of course once the Gwynsu's is at full stacks, it actually is kind of ridiculous. So Varus is very strong, and I highly recommend picking him up if you have not already, because I will not be surprised if we start seeing some nerfs coming over to him in the next few patches. Now for the build on Varus, you want to go a very similar build path as you do with Xayah, except you want to go for the inspiration tree in your secondary instead, just to extra help your laning phase as well, but you can also go for sorcery on the same page as Xayah and it'll work just as well. Now the last champion I want to talk about before going to some honorable mentions is going to be Alistar as the support. This guy is just so damn good. I mean, not only does he add a lot of CC because he just has that WQ combo, it can catch people off guard very easily, especially if you land a really big Q in a team fight, you can almost win the team fight just from that alone. He also has a heal in his kit, which isn't that bad, but it's not that amazing, but given all the CC, it's definitely pretty good. His ultimate of course lets him initiate and soak up an insane amount of damage, but he's also very good at roaming, so highly recommend getting those early boosts of mobility and just going to mid lane, going to top lane, going in the jungle, getting wards, and just going in for those ganks, because he's very good at setting them up. So the build whenever playing Alistar is going to be as follows. Aftershock being your keystone of choice, with Bone Plating, Second Wind, and Unflinching. And then you want to go into Inspiration, get the Biscuit Delivery and Magical Footwear for just that free gold stuff. Now jumping into some honorable mentions before I end off the video, I want to go to top lane with Darius because this guy just recently got buffed and I actually feel like he is quite strong. I mean, he's probably not as good as someone like Sion or maybe even Volibear in the top lane, but he's definitely getting his way back up to the list to being a top tier top laner. Then moving over to the mid lane, I also want to quickly mention Zed, Cassiopeia, and Echo. All three of these bad boys are quite good. I mean, they all got buffed, or Echo just happens to be a good champion at the moment with the new AP items, Cassiopeia with the Archangel buff of course, and of course Zed also getting a buff, but also with stopwatch being nerfed, that helps out Zed by quite a bit. And last but not least, going down to the bot lane, Lulu is a fantastic support as well. Just because she's Lulu, I mean, she has huge lane presence, she has a lot of damage within her kit, she has great CC, great survivability, and to help the allies survive as well. The polymorph is fantastic, and all in all, I mean, Lulu has always been a very solid support. But either way, guys, that is about it for this video. There you have it, the best champions for patch 7.24. A lot of new faces. There's a new meta essentially forming up right now with all the big changes coming to this patch. So hopefully this video gave you a better idea as to who to watch out for and who to main. If you enjoyed this video, guys, make sure to hit that like button to show your support. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next video. Peace.